Greetings and welcome, everyone. My name is Lokita Maka. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. Thank you so much for your support. So, guys, in this video, I am coming with Agricultural Sciences Paper 2. So, if you remember, we have already done Paper 1. So, one thing to note here is that the marks are the same as Paper 1 because in total you are writing for 300 marks, unless otherwise, of course, maybe the department may decide that you write control tests or you write out of 100, but normally the papers are 300 marks in total, 150 paper 1 and 150 paper 2, both 2.5 hours, right? So this is grade 11 agricultural sciences. So when you start writing your exam, the first thing that you need to do is to read instructions and read your instructions carefully. You know, your agricultural sciences have got two sections, 45 marks, which is section A, and 105 marks, which is section B. Section A is only question 1, question 1.1 to 1.4. Section B starts from question 2 up to question 4, right? So you need to answer all the questions in the answer book and make sure that you start each question on a new page. So when you are done with your question 1.4, moving to question 2, make sure that you start question 2 on a new page. When you are done with question 2, make sure you start question 3 on a new page, right? And make sure you number your answers correctly and according to the numbering system that has been used on the question paper. And while you are doing that, make sure that you write neatly. Your handwriting must be neat and it must be legible, right? If you have any calculations, make sure that you show all the formulas. You also use a non-programmable calculator, right? Okay, fine. Now, let's start with our question 1, section A. So, various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter next to the question number in your answer book. Right, okay, fine. So now here, what you are requested to do, you only write the letter. Okay, let's say you read here, which one of the following mechanisms is not involved in the movement of water from the roots to stems and leaves? And you decide that, okay, the answer is A, right? Or the answer is root pressure. You don't write root pressure. You write A. But now, okay, let's do this. Let's look at these questions. Don't worry, I have provided the marking guide for each of these questions, right? So at the end of each question, you'll be able to see how you have done. So please grab your pen, grab your paper or your book, and try to answer as honest as possible. If you have to pause, make sure you pause the video and you complete your answers and then you continue, right? So, which one of the following mechanisms is not involved in the movement of water from the roots to stems and leaves? Okay, so now this takes you back to water movement in plants, right? So, obviously, we're saying the question says which one is not. So, obviously, root pressure there would be involved because the water moves from the roots, right? Then what about guttation? So you need now to be able to define these concepts. You need to understand these concepts. What do they involve, right? Capillary action, transpiration pool. So what are these? So before you give your answer, you need to first be able to understand these four concepts, right? Or these four terms. Then once you are able to that, then you will be able to give your answer. right? So think about it and then you write the correct answer. Don't worry, at the end, you will find the marking guide or the memo, right? Let's continue now to the next one. The letter H in the diagram below represents the. Okay, so now as you can see that the letter H comprised of three things. So what is that? We are given there the structure of the flower, right? So now the flower consists of important things. It consists of important structures such as a petal, ovule, and there are also others. As you can see, there are letters there, right? So there are important structures in the flower. So now, letter H consists of D, part E, part F. So what is that? So take your time again and give an answer, and that then we move to the following one. As much as I have provided a marking guide, but I want to use this time for you to actually answer the questions yourself. So you are testing yourself now. You are getting into the examiner's mind using different question papers, right? So if there are other question papers that you are able to find, so make sure that you get hold of them, right? Then the following methods can be used by farmers to increase the rate of photosynthesis. So you are given options D. Growing crops in greenhouses. You are also given trializing plants, intercropping using optimum plant density. So you're going to choose the correct combination. So which methods can be used by farmers to increase the rate of photosynthesis, right? Then let's move to question 1.4. Which one of the following is an example of a stored grain pest? Which one? What is a nematode? Where do you find nematodes? What is a spider mite? Where do you find them? What is an aphid? Where do you find them? What is a weevil? Where do you find them? So those are the questions that you need to ask yourself before you actually attempt to answer the question, right? Dash 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 is the simplest method of the plant movement. So what is that? Simplest method of plant improvement. How do we improve plants? What do we do? Do we use the method of selection, hybridization, mutation, or we use genetic modification? So write down the correct one. Farmers make use of irrigation scheduling to one, reduce energy cost, avoid overwatering, avoid underwatering, or avoid fungal diseases. Now you choose the correct one. Is it 1, 2, and 4? Or is it 1, 2, and 3? Or is it 1, 3, and 4? Or is it 2, 3, and 4? Which one is the correct combination? Then you choose your letter there. You just only write the letter. Dash dash is not a requirement for aquaculture farmers to achieve high yields. So again, the key term there is aquaculture. What is aquaculture? Number one. Then when it comes to aquaculture, how do farmers ensure that they achieve high yields? Right? So once you are able to answer that question, what do you need in aquaculture? One, obviously, water is involved. right? In aquaculture, right? Because there are living creatures there or organisms that need water to survive. A fish needs water to survive, right? Number one. Then two, oxygen content of water. So obviously that is needed, right? Because these organisms will need oxygen, right? Okay. Then what about market price? Does market price have an impact on achieving high yields, on ensuring that there are a lot of fishes that are produced? I don't think so, but I don't know about you. So write your correct answer. Then what about feeding? Do we need feed for these fishes? Do we or we don't? They just survive on whatever. So you answer that. Then let's continue. Which one of the following sources of irrigation is likely to be saline? An aquifer, a lake, a river, rainwater. So again, we've got a keywords there. Sources of irrigation water, and then we've got saline, right? So now you think about it. The diagram below shows a drainage system, dash, dash, dash drainage system, right? So again, which one is the correct one? So the keyword there is the drainage system, or keywords there are drainage system. So you go back now to your notes. If you cannot remember this, just remind yourself, right? Dash, dash, dash is not an important consideration when installing a pipe drainage system, right? So which one is not important? So when we're installing a pipe drainage system, what do we consider? Do we consider depth of the soil? Do we consider the nutrient status? Do we consider slope? Do we consider pipe diameter? So again, now you ask yourself this question: what does a soil nutrient status have to do with installing pipes? Right? Okay, fine. If you are able to answer that question, then obviously you have your answer there. Right? Then let's move. Question 1.2. So choose a word, term, concept, or phrase from column B that matches a description in column A. Write only the letter, which is A up to H, next to the question number. So again here, you're not going to write grafting. You're not going to write aquaculture or dolomitic wine or heel reaction. You only going to write if you choose dolomitic lime, then you only write C. Right? Now let's look at the phrases in the descriptions in column A. Light dependent phase of photosynthesis. So I have covered this on one of the lessons that I have done. What is a light dependent phase of photosynthesis? Go to your column B, then choose. Then you write only the letter. This particular term or whatever in question B contains a small percentage of magnesium carbonate, right? So what contains a small percentage of magnesium carbonate? Physical or chemical treatment that weakens or softens the seed coat. What is that? So go to column B again and then you choose the correct letter. So what weakens or softens the seed coat? A whole scion with several buds is used to propagate a plant with desired characteristics. What is that? I'm going to give this one to you, but I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about it. 3, 2, 1. So I'm sure you have touched on this and you have given the correct answer. That is grafting. A farming system that makes use of computers, global satellite positioning systems, and remote sensing devices to measure environmental conditions. So, what is that one? What is that one? Then give. So, actually, there is only one farming system in Colombia. So, obviously, that answer is a given. So, that is precision farming. Farming system that makes use of computers, global satellite positioning system, which is GPS, remote sensing devices to measure environmental conditions. Right? Then you get your 10 marks, free 10 marks, so already you have 30 marks. Okay, fine. Then here, give one word, term, concept, or phrase for each of the following descriptions. Right? Application of fertilizer through irrigation. Application of fertilizer through irrigation water is called fertigation. Fertilizer irrigation equals to fertigation. The ability of a liquid to flow upwards in the narrow spaces against the force of gravity. So that is called capillarity, right? Chemicals that are used to control pests, these are called pesticides. A combination of different methods to optimize pest control. So this is called integrated pest management. The artificial removal of excess water from the soil. What is that? It's called drainage. So already you have 10 marks there. Then question 1.4, you only gonna change the underlined words. So you don't rewrite the whole question. You're only gonna write the answer next to the question number, right? So microelements are plant nutrients required in large quantities. So now remember, when we're talking about micro, we are talking about tiny, tiny, tiny things, right? Things that you cannot see with your naked eye. So micro elements, you will never be able to see them with your naked eye. So they are required in small quantities. But now when it comes to macro elements, so these are required in large quantities. So your correct answer there is macro elements, right? And then pathogens spread diseases causing organisms from one host to another. What is this? These are vectors, right? Monoculture is the farming of marine and freshwater aquatic organisms. So this is aquaculture, not monoculture. So you are always given hints there. An, ever, an evaporation pan measures how hard a plant has has to work to extract water from the soil. What is that? What is that? What measures how hard a plant has to work to extract water from the soil? That um, that tool is called a tensiometer, right? Green manuring is the covering of cultivated soils with different substances, such as sawdust, straw to reduce water loss and prevent erosion. So that type of a method, it's one of the methods that are used in organic farming, and it's called mulching. So you have your 5 marks there, guys. Then that brings us to the end of question one. Brings us to the end of question one. 45 marks done and dusted. You would probably take like about 30 minutes on this one, or 20 minutes, so that you can spend more time, or let's say 30 minutes, so that you know that other 2 hours you use it for question two up to question four, right? So let's look at our memo. So now take your time, compare your answers here, pause if you have to, and see. Mark yourself or ask your sibling, your parent, your guardian, whoever is at home who can be able to assist you to mark you on this. Set a timer for yourself, because now we are practicing, guys. We are practicing. So take this time, then we will continue to the second session. Okay, so let's continue to section B, plant studies. So this is on nutrition. So the diagram below shows the process in which takes place in plants. Analyze it and answer the questions that follow. So there you have an arrow that shows that there is sunlight going to that plant. There is a leaf tissue that contains chloroplast. There is a carbon dioxide that comes in. Then there is a particular process or substance that goes out. Then there are stored carbohydrates. There is a stem. There is another substance that is labeled B. Then there's also a leaf. So, what is that process? So, now obviously, we have been given the idea, because we have sunlight there, we have carbon dioxide. So, name the process shown above. So, that is photosynthesis, right? Now, did you use substances labeled A and B substances, right? So, which substance is found underground? Which substance is found um, underground, and that is transported in the roots? That is important in this process, right? So, it's B is oxygen. Then, what about A? We have been given carbon dioxide there, so that should give you an idea. So we have been given the carbon dioxide which comes in, then what goes out? Obviously, it's oxygen, right? Then 2.1.3, plants are described as autotrophic due to the process shown above. So justify the statement. Why are they described as autotrophic? The reason being, they make their own food through the process of photosynthesis, right? Then tabulate two differences between this process as well as cellular respiration. So again, now, even if you couldn't get the name of the process, but because 2.1.4, it talks about cellular respiration there. So obviously, that should tell you that we are talking about photosynthesis here. So try by all means to read your questions through before you attempt to answer. Right. So now, what is important? So can you see that you have been given two differences? You have been asked to tabulate two differences, but you have 5 marks. So drawing the table there has a mark. And always your table have to have a heading. So you write there differences between photosynthesis and respiration, cellular respiration. Then you draw your table. Column A, photosynthesis, column B, respiration. Then you give your differences, right? Any two, right? Then let's continue. So 2.2, the soil's nutrient status is one of the most important factors affecting crop growth. Communal farmers usually experience low yield since they use a hit and miss approach to fertilizer application. This method involves blindly applying fertilizers without determining how much is actually required by the plants. So explain two negative effects of using the hit and miss approach explained in this passage below. So now again, if you didn't read through carefully, now this is your time to analyze that scenario or that statement, right? So the negative effects there of the hit and miss approach, one is inadequate fertilizers will be applied, resulting in low yields. Then think about the second one, right? Suggest two methods that farmers can use to determine the amount of fertilizer to be applied. So think about these two methods, write them down, and then at the end of the section, you're gonna compare your answers. List two soil factors that can affect the availability of nutrients to plants. What are those two methods? Two factors, I mean. Low yields can be caused by nutrients being unavailable to plants, even if farmers apply fertilizers. Now, describe each of the factor mentioned in question 2.2.3 that affects nutrient availability. So, for each factor, mention the issue of nutrient availability, the effect of these factors on nutrient availability. 2.3.1, right, suggests the mechanism that which suggests the mechanism through which roots absorb each of the following, right? So how do roots absorb water? How do roots absorb minerals down their concentration gradient? How do they absorb minerals? So there are processes. Now, this will take you back when we were talking about diffusion, when we're talking about osmosis, when we're talking about active uptake. So suggest those mechanisms. Which is which? I have given you the hint. One of them is diffusion or passive uptake. One of them is active uptake. One of them is osmosis. So now the ball is on your court. Supply two adaptations of plants to reduce water loss through transpiration. So what do plants do in order to adapt, right, in reduction of water loss? The process shown above is essential for plant growth. Support this statement with two reasons. So write your answer down and then at the end you're going to compare. Now, coming to the last two questions of question 3. Organic fertilizers are important. Sorry, guys. Organic fertilizers are plant and animal remains applied to the soil to add one or more plant nutrients. Right. Supply one example of organic fertilizer. So you have done this in grade 10, and we have mentioned this earlier on like I think it was the multiple choice. So yes, supply one, only one example. There are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. One of the major reasons why organic fertilizers are becoming popular is due to their environmental benefits. Give two of these benefits, right? Most commercial farmers are still using chemical fertilizers. Describe two advantages they have over organic fertilizer. What are the advantages of chemical fertilizers over organic fertilizer? Right. Analyze the table below and provide labels for letters A up to E to complete the table. So you've been given minerals there. We've been given forms in which um, these minerals are absorbed by plants. Then you have been given a mineral type. You have been given a deficiency symptom, right? So again, refer to one of the latest videos on grade 11 that I have done. If not, refer to your notes and you will find the answers and you will get a good 5 marks, right? So here is your marking guide. You can press pause here, try to compare your answers, and then you move to the next one, right? So 2.30 continues up to 2.5. So try and compare your answers, pause and try and compare your answers. Then we continue to question 3 again because I don't want this video to be long. So I want you to pause from here, try and answer these questions. If you have any questions, if you have any question that you want to ask me in answering these questions. Question 3 is on plant reproduction and protection. Then try, contact me, comment on the section below. So question, if we can just attempt, let's say the first questions. So the diagram below illustrates pollination in plants. So again, you ask yourself, what is pollination? So obviously pollination, when you talk about pollination, we're talking about the transfer of pollen from one plant to another, right? Okay, fine. Oh, from one flower to another flower, right? Fine. So identify the pollination types. So we've got two types of pollination, right? Or let's say in this diagram, we've got two types of pollination, right? So we've got two plants there, plant A and plant B, even though they are not labeled, right? So identify the types of pollination, type B and type C. So as you can see, the pollen there in C, it moves from one plant to another plant, right? So that is cross pollination. But pollen B, it moves from the same plant, but from the enter of one plant to um, another of the same plant. So that is self pollination. So B is self pollination and C is cross pollination. So describe two advantages of pollination A, right? Pollination type A. So what are the advantages of self pollination? So answer that. After pollination, double fertilization occurs. Again, what is double fertilization? So you have to ask yourself that question. So this describes, so please describe this process. That is the question, basically. So you need to be able to define double fertilization. But before you define double fertilization, you must be able to define fertilization. What is fertilization? Then now when we're talking about double fertilization, what are we talking about? Right. Now classify the type of reproduction depicted above. Is it sexual production or asexual reproduction? So again, this takes you back, be able to distinguish the differences between the two. What is sexual reproduction and what is asexual reproduction? Right. Deduce whether the plant above is insect or wind pollinated. Then justify your answer, right? Did this pollination occur because of winds or wind or because of insects, then you need to provide a justification for your answer. Then look at these three diagram here. These three pictures. Picture A, picture B, picture C. Classify each fruits A, fruit B, fruit C above as simple, compound, or accessory. So you can just say A is compound if you think it's compound, B is accessory if you think it's accessory, or B is simple if you think it's simple, or C is simple if you think it's simple, or C is accessory if you think it's accessory, but be able to justify why you think. So again, briefly explain the reason behind your classification of fruit B. So why you said fruit B is either simple, compound, or accessory. So the one that you chose must be able to give the justification or give the reason behind that. Right, then let's continue. Question 2, 3.2. Again, here, take your time. Pause this video if you have to. Answer the questions. Then you compare at the end of the section. So here is your answer guide or marking guide. So make sure you mark yourself and continue. So pause here, mark yourself, then continue to question 4. So another thing here, they're on question 30.4.1. So if you have been asked to draw a graph, guys, always understand that with any graph, you'll be given a mark for the heading. You'll be given a mark for the correct labeling of the y-axis as well as the x-axis, and you will also be given a mark for the correct graph type. So if it's a bar graph or it's a histogram, or you have been asked to draw a pie chart, you will be given marks according to that. And also correct units, you are given a mark there. Accuracy, you are given a mark there. Right. Then our memo continues. Then there you go. On question 3, you've got a good 35 marks. Easy marks. Then you move to question 4. This is on optimum resource utilization. Optimal resource utilization. This topic you also touched on in grade 10. So this should be just a walk in the park for you, because this is something you have done in grade 10. Right? It's a continuation of using resources wisely, using resources sustainably. So take your time, read the questions carefully, and answer these questions. Then it continues to different media, different implements. Those are implements. Then you have hydroponic irrigation systems there that you have to answer questions on. Different irrigation system. As you can see, there is a drip irrigation system there. So read the questions carefully. There is also a sprinkler irrigation system. So A, obviously, there, as much as you have been asked this question, but I'm giving this one to you now. As you can see, A, it's sprinklers. B, it's a drip. So you have 2 marks there. That is easy for you. So try to collect as many marks as you can. Do not play around, guys. Don't leave answers. Don't leave blank spaces. Try and analyze questions. Analyze the diagrams. Right? Then you have been given a structure there. What is that structure? That is a greenhouse. So what materials are usually used to make this kind of a structure? Just any two materials. Any two material. Then justify the use of the structure above by farmers with two reasons. Only two reasons. Why is it used? Give two environmental factors farmers should consider before setting up this structure. So, what should farmers consider? They may want to consider wind. They may want to consider the supply of water because a greenhouse will need water, right? They may also want to consider the issue of temperature, the issue of topography. So, this is something you have done in grade 10, right? So, now take this time, compare your answers, see if you need to do more reading, you need more question papers. If you do, let me know so that I can try and find them. But if not, try and use this one to practice. Try and ask yourself questions. You know your teachers. You know usually how the department, if it's an external paper, how they usually ask questions. So try each and every topic, try and analyze it properly. Try every time you are studying, try and ask yourself questions. Try to set your own paper if you have to. Your memo continues, the second page of question 4, then the third page. Then there you go, you've got 150 marks done and dusted in 2 hours. But obviously, we have covered this in less than that because we were not writing, we were just going through it. Otherwise, guys, that's it from me. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being with me. If you enjoyed this session or if you find this useful, please share it with other people. Share the link with other people. Let me know if you find it useful. Please like the video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I really appreciate that feedback from you guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, if you have anything that you would like to ask me, please ask on the comment section below or get my email address from the settings and then you can just drop me an email. Otherwise, thank you so much. Until next time.